Get my 6. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the most amazing homesteading channel on the entire internet that has absolutely nothing to do with homesteading whatsoever. Homesteading off the grid. We're back in the woods today. Been making videos from the fields, various fields here lately, in orchards. So watch behind me. You never know who or what may or may not show up in the background of some of these videos. So I'm going to get right to it. You saw the title of the video. The problem with men today is, and listen, this is going to piss a lot of people off because it can be controversial. But the problem with men today, today is over-mothering and under-fathering. Yeah, there. I said what I said, like all the cool cats on Facebook say. Over-mothering and under-fathering. And we've now seen an entire generation come of age who have been ruined. Young males. I don't venture enough to say men because it takes more than just having the proper plumbing to be a man. It takes being responsible. It takes having a desire to achieve, having and possessing the tools to achieve, and actually going out there and achieving, so you can provide for yourself, your family, if you'll eventually get one, more than likely. The numbers say so. Being able to be independent, not being dependent on someone else to help you meet your needs. And we just don't see so much of that anymore. Something like almost 30% of adult males between 18 and 30 are still living at home with mom and dad, and more than half of them are just not working. They're not even looking for work. And this is a direct result of them having been over-mothered and under-fathered. Now, is this because it takes a man to teach a boy how to become a man? Most often, yes, but not always. There are outliers out there. I'm going to use an example. I have a very good friend whose father died when he was young. He was, I think, 11 years old. And his mother and his 3 sisters, who were all older than him, jumped in and they manned up, or they mothered up, they sistered up, they parented up, they mentored up. They raised him, and they raised him well. And he is one of the most accomplished people I know. I mean, he watches some of my videos, not all, but I'm going to tell you, this guy is such a role model in so many ways. Because guess what? He lost his dad at 11. And then when he was 17, he was in an auto accident. And this would eventually cost him the ability to use his body from the waist down. He's in a wheelchair. Yeah. But guess what? He didn't view himself as a victim. He didn't adopt the victim mentality. And that's probably largely because he had a mother and 3 sisters who jumped in, and at that time, jumped in even more and said, come on, we're going to get you through this just like we did when Dad passed. This guy went on to get a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. That's my Gatorade bottle popping. I just finished my morning workout. Master's degree. Then he got a PhD in science. He was like a bioengineer. He actually developed a gene or something. He tried to explain it to me once, and I couldn't even understand it. And then years after that, he decided he wanted to make a change. So guess what? He went to law school and got a law degree. He's the most educated human being I know. Self-made millionaire. And he did all this from a wheelchair. Now, what's your excuse for not achieving something you want to achieve? And you know what? I'm happy that this man has a son. His son's a friend of my son. They're good friends. And he is fathering that child. He is showing that boy how to become a man. And he's helping my son. You know, one of the things he's done recently is he's put him to work. When my kid goes over there to hang out with his kid, he puts him to work. He's got him out there doing yard work, and he's paying him. And he talked to my son about a custodial Roth IRA, which is something we're opening today for my son. Now, because and my friend mentioned to my wife, I wasn't there when they were having this conversation, but it's about how he didn't really understand finances when he was growing up, and he didn't understand them till later in life. He wished he'd understood them before. And he says, so that's why I'm talking to your son about it. And I'm sure, you and Kevin probably grew up in similar situations. And I did. I didn't know anything about finances. I wasn't taught. Nobody taught me. So he's helping teach our son. And I've been talking to my son about it for years, and mostly by showing through example. We're not debtors. We're not materialistic. We don't go out and just buy stuff because we don't want debt. A lot of people are like, wow, how'd you guys spend the whole winter in the Philippines? You must be rich. No, not really. A couple things. Number one, we work on social media. So as long as I have my phone and an internet connection, I can work from anywhere. I worked from the Philippines as much as I worked from here. Not so much on YouTube, but more on Facebook. Which pays me more anyway than this platform, and it way more. And then number two, we don't have debt, so we don't. I saw this morning Dave Ramsey. A lot of people don't like him. They say he's an idiot. Let me ask you this: how is somebody whose net worth is over $5 million and it's self-made? He didn't inherit it. He didn't win the lottery. He didn't get a lawsuit. How is somebody that accumulates $5 million because of their financial knowledge and their financial discipline? How are they an idiot? I don't get that. But he's got people that are so broke they'll never get out of debt, call him an idiot. Oh yeah, that's right. Maybe they're jealous. But I was watching a reel from him this morning, and he was talking about car payments, which me and my wife feel is one of the dumbest things Americans do. I haven't had one since I bought my first car out of college. I was in my 20s, had terrible FICO score. The only asset I had was student loans, and so I had to pay 21% interest on this car for 5 years. It might have been 29% interest. So I paid for the car twice, and I told myself the whole time I was doing that, I will never have a car payment again, and I haven't. I buy cars that are at least 3 years old, like our truck. It was 3 years old when you got it, because new cars will depreciate by 1/3 of the value the minute you drive them off the lot. They'll depreciate by another third in their first 3 years. So a car loses 66% of its value in its first 3 years. I let some yuppie buy it and then trade it in 3 years because, oh my God, it's got 40,000 miles on it. I'm going to be upside down. Or maybe they pay it off and they're just itching to go get that next car payment. So listen, Dave Ramsey said the average, I pay cash, okay? So the average car payment in America today is $500. And he pointed out that if you start at age 30 and you put $500 a month into your investments and you average 12% returns, which the stock market has done, the S&P 500 has done that for the last 50 years, whatever. By the time you're 70, you're going to have $5 million. So think about that when you're tempted to go get that next new car because, hey, I just paid the one I've had for the last 5 years off. Yeah, the one that still looks new, the one that still runs like it's new, the one that still smells like it's new, the one that will last you for the next 10 years. Think about taking what you've been making up for that payment and paying yourself, putting it in your investments and letting it grow and letting it go. Okay, you're driving around what could be $5 million that you'll never have, and you'll probably die broke. And it's not because you weren't born into the right family. It's not because you didn't win the lottery. It's not because you didn't get lucky somehow. It's because you were stupid with money. So we're big on teaching our son that, and now our friend who is fathering his child is helping us with his son and our son to understand the concept of investments and investment vehicles. So FYI, if you've got a minor child or grandchild out there and he or she is earning money, you can set up a custodial Roth IRA for them in which you can put the money they've earned in there and it grows tax-free for them for retirement. We're starting these, now my kid started buying stocks a couple of years ago. He started with Sony stock and it's flat. It hasn't really done anything. But because I tried to teach him, hey, while all your middle class materialistic yuppie friends are out there buying the latest PS5 and every new game they're putting on the market, you will, and he's got those things, but not in excess, You'll be the one benefiting from that company making profits from all those yuppies buying all that stuff because you're a shareholder, you own stock in that company. So he understands that. So I'm kind of getting off topic, but I'm kind of not. My point to that is there are outliers. There are some remarkable men out there who were raised without a father figure in their life because maybe, unfortunately, like my friend, their fathers died. A lot of divorce. I mean, half the marriages today end in divorce. Now, that rate's going down. The boomers led that charge. So it's not so much that the divorce rate has dropped per se because people who get married aren't getting divorced. It's because younger people just aren't getting married. They're choosing to cohabitate. They're not making it legal. So when they split, they go their separate ways, and some lawyer doesn't make 50 to 100 grand off of both of them, or one of them, while another lawyer makes 50 to 100 grand off the other. It's smart, you know? So, and I do understand there are such things as deadbeat dads. Okay, my son has friends who have deadbeat dads. I just talked about one of my son's friends that has the role model father. There are some that have deadbeat dads that are not involved in their lives, and some of them are doing it because they're just simply not responsible. They're not financially responsible. There's substance abuse. Some of them do it to hurt the mother. It's really terrible. It's terrible. But let me point this out as well. There are a lot of men out there who want to be involved in their children's lives, both their sons and their daughters, who are kept away, not because they're deadbeat dads, but because their children's mother is a very bitter woman. Okay, I'm going to put that out there too. I made a post on Facebook yesterday on our Sick Twisted Humor page, which has been shared like 6,000 times, got 2,000 comments. It's got 20,000 reactions, emojis, and whatnot. It says, so many kids grow up thinking they have deadbeat fathers when the whole time they've got very bitter mothers. Now, is this post, is it getting all these interactions and comments and shares because it pissed off all the women of the world and everybody's angry? No, it's because I think 90% of the population know this now, because it's hard to hide in the days of social media. These kids are told, oh, your dad doesn't send money, but the kids, hey, speaking from personal experience, mom said you don't send money, but we see the receipts from DHS, Department of Health and Human Services or whatever. The kids know what's going on. Or, oh, your dad, he's a loser, he's not involved in your life because he's just a down and out drunk and he's a deadbeat and he doesn't even work. But they see dad on social media in his $1 million home doing his job that he loves with his wife that isn't bitter and his child or children that are a part of his life and who do love him and who he does love. And they're like, what am I missing here, Mom? Oh, you changed my email account password so I couldn't get all those communications from my father for all those years? You moved to the other side of the country and then you left the country so my father couldn't see me? A lot of that going on, okay? And that's unfortunate because you know who that hurts, and those mothers will do that to hurt the father, just like one of the deadbeat dads we are aware of has nothing to do with his son to hurt the mother. But you know who suffers the most? The children. Yeah, it in some ways it will ruin them for life. We know a young man who is in this situation right now, and let me tell you, that young man is one of the best kids I've ever known, and he's angry. He is angry, and I fear this kid's going to get involved in some stuff that may negatively affect him for the rest of his life, and it's because there's no father figure in his life. The mother is spread so thin because he is not her only child, and she's trying to support all of them financially, single-handedly. And I don't know why she doesn't just, whatever, I'm going to bite my tongue. Some of these people watch my videos. All I will say is there's a court system in this country who will force men to ante up or go to jail. You either pay or you go to jail. Starts out with, we're taking your driver's license, and then you're going to be incarcerated. But you've got to have enough, you've got to pursue those options. That's all I'm going to say. And then, so there's this, we've talked about this. Let me go on and talk about what I call helicopter parenting. Now, both parents can do this, either or. It's been my observation, as somebody who coaches youth sports, I'll just use this as an example. And there's so many examples, and like I said, I know people I know watch my videos and they think, oh God, I hope he's not talking about me, or, oh no, he's talking about me. I'm not talking about any of you specifically, and I've coached for 25 years, so I'm often going back and telling stories about young people I might have coached 20 years ago in a different state, or in a different country. These are just observations I've made. So, helicopter parenting. I remember one time I was involved with a team where there was this one kid, and it happened to be a boy, I've coached boys and girls, sometimes on the same team, sometimes separately in like girls leagues or boys leagues. But this kid, he was a goof off. He was a goof off. Now, he had just as much ability as any other kid on that team, just as much talent, just as much skill. But he didn't take things seriously, and he was a goof off, always cracking jokes. And all the other kids liked him. He was friends with everybody, right? Class clown kind of thing. Well, it was disruptive in practices, and it was very distracting and disruptive during games. And sometimes it would cause the other players on the sidelines to lose focus. And these kids were young at the time, and what me and the other coaches were trying to do was teach them about, hey, okay, it was football. Okay, listen, defense. When our offense is on the field, you need to stand here on the sideline, watch the game, see what's going on, and encourage your teammates. Cheer your teammates on. When so-and-so makes a catch, say, hey, so-and-so, great catch. When so-and-so misses the ball, didn't catch it, say, hey, that's okay, so-and-so, you're going to catch the next one. Trying to build team camaraderie. Well, this kid, all he did was go around telling jokes. And so at one of the following practices, and it was flag football, this kid, one of the things he'd do is on the way to the huddle, he liked to go around and jerk other kids' flags off. So then we had to waste time for the kids to put their flags back on before we could get in the huddle and go over the next play. This cost us time, and we only had 1 hour for practice, right? And so one of the other coaches became a little stern, perhaps a little more strict. He didn't yell at anybody, and he didn't yell at anybody, especially specifically. He didn't single out this kid. But he made comments to the effect, listen, guys, we're here for fun. We enjoy this. Of course, we have a lot of fun, but wouldn't it be nice to win? What do we need to do to make that happen? How about we stop goofing off quite so much? We stop, talking in the huddle. We listen to the play. We do what we're supposed to do on the sidelines. Discipline. How about we try to increase our level of discipline? Can we do that so we can be more successful as a team? Well, after that practice, this kid told helicopter pilot mommy. Well, helicopter pilot mommy, of course, wasn't going to have that. She sure as hell didn't discipline her kid, and she sure as hell wasn't going to let anybody else make any effort or attempts to discipline her kid. So she immediately contacted the youth organization and had her son transferred to a different team. Never spoke to the coach, never spoke to me, just nope. Like the helicopter pilot she was, dropped that ladder down there, pulled her son up out of a bad situation that her son started and removed him from it. Well, let me tell you something, Mom and Dad. If you're constantly defending your child for their mistakes and removing them from that situation so they don't have to pay any consequences for that, I hope you got a fat bank account, because when they're adults, you're going to be constantly paying legal fees to keep them out of jail. Yeah. That's the danger of helicopter parenting. So there's that. Okay? My son's going to mow our grass today. He'll get paid $25 for that. And yeah, we have a big property, but we're down to where we're only mowing about 2.5 acres of it now, because we've reforested some of it, a lot of it. And he does it on a zero turn. So, and there's parts of it I still do because some of the trees are still young and I kind of don't want him banging into the trees with the zero turn. He'll make $25, and part of that he'll get to keep for whatever he wants, and another part of it will go into his custodial Roth IRA that I talked about earlier. He's 13. He's perfectly capable of mowing the grass. He's been doing it so far all year since we started mowing last month. He enjoys it. This weekend when I was splitting wood, he helped me. I taught him finally how to use the gasoline-powered log splitter. I work with him when he does these things to make sure he doesn't get hurt, make sure he's doing it correctly and safely. But he's done this stuff around, not that, but he's helped us for years. And we used to show it in videos, but the reason we didn't is because we made a video when he was like 6 or 7, and he was helping us stack firewood. And I swear to Pete, we must have had a dozen different Karens come on here and accuse us of child abuse, threaten to call social services, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't big, heavy 50-pound, well-seasoned red oak rounds. It was kindling, stuff like that. He was helping, he was getting involved because we wanted to instill in him early a work ethic. Well, we stopped. He continued to do that through the years, but we just stopped putting it on videos. At the time, we had neighbors who they don't take care of their properties. Listen, some people like to take care of their stuff. Some people don't. They don't. So they never do any outside yard work. But when things would get so nasty over there and they wanted to get it cleared up, maybe they had people coming for company or something, and they didn't want the people to know that they kind of lived in filth. They would always hire like workers to come in and do it for them. So I remember one time this was going on, and I said to the guy, "Don't you guys have like a perfectly healthy teenage boy living in there?" Because they did. And this was the stepfather. And he told me that boy has never done any work in his life. He's never washed a dish. And these are the stepfather's words. He's never washed a dish, never shoveled a walk when it had snow on it, never mowed a lawn, didn't even take the trash out, these kinds of things. And I'm like, why not? And he said his mother, I've tried to get him to do these things, and his mother jumps in and, no, my boy, you're not going to make my boy do any work. The mother just never let him do it. So now that young man is in his mid-20s, and guess what? He doesn't work. He still doesn't work. So it's proof that children who never work grow up to become adults that never work. And that guy tried, the stepdad, and I know the kid has a father somewhere who was involved to a degree, but clearly this young male was overmothered and underfathered. So that's probably the best example I could give of that. And he had two adult males in his life, a stepfather and a father, but he was overmothered and underfathered. And we're seeing a generation out there like this now. This generation has been brainwashed to believe that masculinity is toxic. It's something you should suppress. It's an unfair advantage over females, and they believed it. They bought into it. Some of these women, I know the woman who wouldn't let her son work. I guess you would say she's a feminist. I'm a feminist. Listen, I believe in equal rights for all, including women. Yes, they should be paid as much as men, and if they're better at their job than their male counterparts, they should be paid more. Anybody can be a feminist. You don't have to be a woman to be a feminist. This woman, though, I would go out there as far to say that she was more of what we call a feminazi. Now, we all know what that is. They're women who claim to be feminists. They claim to be all about equal rights, but is that really the truth? Or do they hate men? Well, I think that's the case in this person's situation. They don't want equality. They want superiority. So some of these types of women have literally helped eviscerate their male children because of their feminazi views. For example, that woman had a daughter that was raised with work ethic, went to college, graduated in 4 years with straight A's, and was one of those college graduates who actually did start out making about $100,000 a year. Daughter was extremely successful. Why? Because feminazi mother made sure of that. But the son, she helped eviscerate this boy who didn't grow up to be a man, but grew up to remain a boy. Because that's what's happening. That's the problem with men today. Overmothering, underfathering, they're not being allowed to fail. Hey, that mother on that football team I told you about should have marched that kid back to that next practice and stood there to make sure that he apologized to the players on his team and the coaches for distracting them and wasting their time by goofing off, and promised that he would take it seriously from that point on. But no, just get him over here. So guess what? That boy's not going to grow up to be a man. That boy is going to grow up to remain a boy for life. Now I hear you, and I'm going to address this, and this is going to be the last thing I address. You're saying, oh, it was flag football. Why does it matter? Oh, it's all about fun. Listen, when does it start to matter? When? In the beginning, from the start. It always matters. Because let me tell you this. About, I mentioned achievement. Men achieve success, okay, in life. It starts all from the beginning. Winning, achieving, it's all a mindset. It's a series of actions built upon themselves with that mindset that leads to success and leads to winning. You can't just go out there and goof off and not take anything seriously and then all of a sudden say, well, look at me, I'm 18. It's time to start taking things seriously and achieve. You can't participate in sports from the time you're walking like a lot of these kids do until you wait till you get into high school, then walk on to the tackle football team and say, oh, time for me to take it seriously now because now I'm playing tackle. It's no more flag. It's time to get real. Guess what? You'll be lucky. Most public schools won't cut you from the team anymore because you suck, because they're not allowed to, because it might hurt your self-esteem. That back in my day, you had to do something to earn to have in the first place. You're going to ride the pine, though. That means you're going to sit the bench. You're not getting in that game. Why? Because the kids who were taking it seriously earlier are. I'm going to quote Mike Tyson to prove my point here, okay? And I've done this in other videos. Mike Tyson was in an interview when he was in his 20s, when he was a heavyweight champion of the world for the first time around, undefeated. And the interviewer asked him, said, Mike, did you ever imagine when you were a child that you were going to grow up and be great? He says, yes, I knew I was. And the interviewer laughed and he says, oh, why? Because you're beating everybody up and you were already winning every fight in a boxing match. You knew because of your physical skills you were going to be great. And Mike Tyson says, no, it had nothing to do with my physical skills. It had to do with my mind. It had to do with my attitude and my mentality and how I thought. The interviewer says, what do you mean by that? He says, by the time I was 14, I'd gotten to a point to where anything I did with the pursuit of excellence. It didn't have to be working out in the weight room. Didn't have to be my road work in the mornings. That's what runners call their run. Didn't have to be sparring in the ring or a boxing match. It was any endeavor I did. If it was chores, if it was schoolwork, if it was yard work, I pursued it with excellence. He said, when I was 14, I looked around me and I saw that none of my peers were doing this. They were goofing off at just about everything. If there was one thing they were a little passionate about, they might take that more seriously than the other things. But none of them were pursuing excellence in anything they did. He said, I looked around and realized when I was 14, I was going to be great someday. I knew I was going to be heavyweight champion of the world. And he was. And that's a great example because let me tell you this. If you're the kid that's always late for practice, always late for games, and for now, that's not your fault. That's your parents' fault for not getting you there on time. And listen, parents, you're developing these behaviors in your children by showing that to them, by doing it, and then having them participate in that behavior because they're always late because you're always late getting them there, okay? Then number two, on top of that, giving them this attitude that it's okay, it doesn't matter. I see kids, the same kids who are always late for practice, always late for games, and while we're there waiting on them, they're not even hustling to get down there. They're lollygagging. I saw a kid recently I take water and snacks to all the games and practices. I'm glad I do because this kid had his water bottle, like spraying his name in the dirt while he's 15 minutes late to practice, lollygagging that last 20 yards to catch up with the team, you know? Now, if you have that attitude and then you say, well, it's just flag football, it doesn't matter. Guess what? You're developing patterns, consistent behaviors that all of a sudden when you wake up one day and say, wait a minute, it matters now, you're not going to have the skills to achieve when it matters because you didn't develop the skills when it mattered most, which was early on and in the beginning, from the beginning. Okay? Keep all this in mind. Hey, moms, some of you maybe back off. Your little boy needs you when he's a baby. He needs you more than ever for the nurturing, the protection, the safety. But as he gets a little bit older, let him fall down, let him fail, let him learn how to dust his britches off and keep moving forward. Let dad step in and say, hey, or let stepdad or boyfriend or anybody step in and say, wait a minute, let's not pay these guys $200 to come clean up our yard. Let's pay our perfectly healthy teenage son $50 to do it. And it's not you're not undercutting him on price. You're already paying for his food, right, and his utilities and his clothes. And plus you're teaching him a skill. My son's 13. He knows how to mow grass. He knows how to weed eat. He knows how to split firewood and stack it. He's got life skills he'll never learn in school. He'll never learn in college. And that when he needs them when he's older, when he's running his homestead, because it's going to him, he'll already have them. I hope you guys all got something out of this today. Go ahead and bash the hell out of me in the comments because I know everything I said, none of it's politically correct. Tell you, it's a scary world. We live in a world where people are afraid to say what so many people need to hear. And when so many people who need to hear it, all they do is get offended. You know what you get when you get offended? You know what you win? You know what your prize is? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Be an adult and get over it. See you for more next time from here, the most awesomest homesteading channel on the entire planet that has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with homesteading. 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 Homesteading off the grid.